Hey, baby. Can I get some help with the high tunnels?
That is why I've arrived.
Thank you. Oh! Jeremiah! We are anticipating a very warm week. I have highs on my 10-day forecast that are, let's see, 76 degrees. So that's like 25 Celsius. Pretty dang warm. And that means that with these tunnels closed, it will be very, very warm. Summertime temps in there, even with a shade cloth on. So we're about to raise the walls. There's a very good chance that we actually won't have to lower these walls back down.
It's hitting the ground, doesn't it?
Pick it? Yeah.
Now I'll get away with it. I want to reach up there if I spit it right now.
You fed them some pumpkins? I bet they appreciate that.
And that one is really hard. I
Yeah.
tried to split it, but it didn't come.
Alright, on the chance that it does get cold again, which it very well could do, it will get cold again. It will even freeze again, but I don't know if it will get like another really hard freeze. We had pretty unusual for here cold weather, you know, a couple weeks ago. And so we sealed up the front. It's screwed on. That'll be a lot harder to lift. So we're just gonna leave that because the sides being up is plenty of ventilation for right now.
Mama,
I'm coming.
I want to cook it.
Yeah, we probably do need to harvest that and cook it because of the warmth. It's starting to flower a bit.
How do you harvest broccoli?
We just need to cut it off. We need a knife. Where's your pocket knife? Thanks. Yeah, bring those in here. We are doing garden work with many hands, and that makes Mama happy. Maya's pulling this up. This is a rootstock citrus tree, so it's probably a mock orange.
Mom,
Yeah, go get all those bags, please. You're okay. You're wearing farm clothes. And this is just the result, like when we eat stuff, a lot of times we'll just stick the seeds in the ground. And this grew, but these get really, really big. They have huge spikes, and so we don't want to keep it growing in the high tunnel. So we're actually just going to move it out into the woods. Yes, grab all 3 of those bags. This is 2 seasons worth of growth, I guess. And they are edible. They're very sour. They're very full of seeds. But, you know, you still have all the like citrus medicinal benefits. So it'd be a good tree to have growing out in a place that we're not necessarily cultivating, because these things are gnarly. Like, oh, hold on a second. You can see the spikes that are on them. When you buy citrus trees, a lot of fruit trees are not grown on their own roots. Usually the information of the tree will tell you that. But like a lot of citrus trees, what they'll do is they'll graft a variety that you want the fruit of onto the rootstock of a more hardy variety, which creates stronger plants. So, but what that means is that if you try to plant from seeds on, you know, trees that you're growing, a lot of times you end up getting, you don't get a plant that's true to the fruit. Yeah, let's pull this mulch back so we can plant the onions, but I do want to save the mulch. So we need to put it in a place that we can kind of keep it together. Tobe, why don't you run down there and get that wheelbarrow, please? Okay, y'all can grab up all that mulch and put it in the wheelbarrow, and we'll save it so we can remulch somewhere else or back here. So a lot of the areas in these beds are already amended. You can see they've got some nice loose compost on top. Down here isn't, so we're just going to take this mulch back and add a little bit of compost, and then all in this area we're about to plant our onions, which I'm planting from sets that I got from Dixondale Farms. And they are, I got 3 different kinds in here, and we're going to put them about, I don't know, 4 inches apart in all directions all through this space. We got to get the soil ready, and then we get to do the fun part, which is planting. It doesn't need to be thick, just a even spread of this to give the soil a little more nutrition. And then as you rake, if you'll just level everything kind of out. There were some big holes from where I pulled things up. I'm gonna talk to the camera and I want y'all to listen, okay? So this is my 4th spring here in South Carolina that we have attempted to grow onions. And the first 2, it didn't go well. Now, I have not typically started my onions from seeds. That's kind of on my to-do list next season, but it was on my to-do list last season and I didn't get to it. So I buy onion sets, which these are already started. I have been told that onion sets are more likely to go to seed before you get the harvest, whereas if you start yours from seed, that's less likely. And the problem I have had the first couple years of growing here is that it's warm here in the winter. I mean, it's like I said, today's gonna be a really warm day, but it can get cold again later. And basically what happened the first couple seasons is my onions got killed back by late hard freezes, and then when they came back they went straight to seed. Since we planted them in the high tunnel last year, that was not an issue at all. In the high tunnel we got a fantastic onion harvest. So this year I'm doing sets. I'm doing them in the high tunnel because I know that works for us. In the future I may try to start from seed so I can grow them outside, but you know, the end goal for me is ultimately to get the food, and this way we can. So I bought these from Dixondale Onions. I don't have any affiliation with them. I've just bought stuff from them for the last several years. I've always been happy with the results. I have the Texas Legend, the Texas Super Sweet, and the Southern Red Bell. I also got some leek starts and some shallot starts. They have charts all on their site that tell you whether you need, you know, there are different kinds of onions, early and late, and they will tell you based on where you are. So you don't necessarily need to go buy the same varieties as me. I bought them because of where I live. With these, we have the bundles. Guys, don't grab out of these bundles right here. I set those aside. I got some for Will. So each bundle has a few dozen starts in it. The more you buy, the cheaper they are. So we have several here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to stick this part down into the soil. You don't even really have to poke a hole where it's soft here. You just nestle it down in the soil. We'll come down here and I'll show you. Y'all can go, if you want to hop over this bed, don't step in it, hop over there and you can go and you can watch. So we pretty much are just going to do these like this. You stick it down in just like that, close the soil up around it, and we want to go about 4 inches. Hold your hand out like this. Okay, go like this, do this, and I want you to do about that much space in between each one. Your hand without the tips of your fingers, okay? Is that good? Is that a good gauge?
Yeah. Yes.
And you go just like this, put them down in, close the soil around them. Some of them are quite a bit smaller than other ones, that's okay. And there may be a couple that have gotten mushy, just because I got them in before the weather turned cold. And so they've been sitting there for a second. But I want you to go ahead and plant them, even if they're a little mushy, because worst case is it doesn't grow, but if you throw it away, it will definitely not grow. Okay, you'll see this? Now I'd like to keep the types together. There's 3 types. Huh?
I'm going to continue on this one.
Actually, yeah, you two continue on this one, Toby. That's a good idea. Ezra, grab the Super Sweet, then grab the red. There you go. Go down on the end there. You know, Toby, if you want, on that side, while you're over there, just make the row come all the way down. And then, you know, sew what you can reach.
Why are there so many bugs?
Why are there so many bugs right there? Because that area was all mulched. And so they had lots of cover and protection and food. And so when we pulled the mulch back, it exposed them. Nice spacing, good job.
Look at all those roly-polies, you see?
Yeah, lots of roly-polies. Hope they leave the onions alone.
This is a fat one, Mom.
Mm-hmm. Are you singing Michael Jackson?
Yeah. Saying what?
He's singing Michael Jackson.
I'm almost done with this bundle.
That's good.
Oh, ready?
Okay. Oh goodness, I was just trying to set my camera up and the wind blew seed packets everywhere and I was sitting on a pumpkin, so got kind of precarious situation to try to go lunging at anything. All right, the boys finished with their onions. I planted all the leeks in this bed. I'm kind of clumping like things together, and in the past in my garden I've really spread a lot of things out, but I'm actually trying to be a little more tidy and orderly than I have been in the past, simply because it's a lot easier for me to inventory what I have and what state it's in, and since this year I am really growing for fresh eating, I'd kind of like to have all of one thing together that was planted at the same time. Now if I wanted to succession sow, which I don't typically succession sow onions, I typically harvest them and I save some. The ones I grow here are not the best storage onions, and I don't have the best storage situation. In the South, you can do root cellars, they're just a little harder. I've seen a couple of like products that they make now that are kind of like, they're root cellars that kind of come as like a prefabbed thing that you bury. They're just expensive, so it's like down the list. But I've thought maybe one of those might be a little better because you could really go fully underground. But as it is, I'm using a storage building that we put a mini split in and insulated to keep cool. So I don't have ideal storage, and the types of onions that grow best where I am are not ideal for storage anyway. So typically what I do is grow them all at the same time, harvest a bunch of them, and as they start to look like they're not going to store as long, if they start like even developing a tiny bit of sprouting in the middle or anything like that, I just cut a whole bunch of them up, I freeze them, I freeze dry them, and I essentially at that point will preserve them, which is nice because I'm going to harvest these like June, July-ish, and I have at least a couple months, 2-3 months of them being really good, so I don't have to fool with preserving them during the peak season when I'm having to preserve so many other things. All of that said, I'm not going to succession sow onions, I don't think. I may order some more and just kind of play with that. But these are all leeks, they're all in the same place. With things like leeks and onions, I mean, when they start bulbing, you can harvest them and use them fresh. And you've got a window there where they're growing that they're just getting bigger, and they're still good to harvest the whole time. And that's kind of my idea with my garden since I'm focusing on fresh eating. I have a few spaces here, like there's a little bit of this space. I have one arch panel in here. I'm about to put some sugar magnolia snap peas on there. It's February, I could plant peas, like English peas, shelling peas, snap peas outside at this point. It'd be a little bit of a risk because if we get a hard freeze, it could damage them. But if you're in like zone 7 or 8, if you are like 8 to 10 weeks out from your last frost, you can pretty much plant most cold weather things outside, but you are taking the risk that if you get a hard freeze, you'll either have to protect them in some way or you may lose them or they may get damaged. Last year I planted a bunch of peas outside, and then we did have a really late hard freeze, and they did get damaged and they were knocked back, but they ended up growing and we were able to harvest some. It was just later for them to be like peak time. So I'm going to plant some in the high tunnel this time, and I'll probably be harvesting peas in like 6 weeks. But I'm also going to put some kale seeds in because I need some more kale going, some lettuce seeds, and a couple of calendula flowers. I'm not putting a ton of roots in this tunnel right now because I'm just not fully clear on what I want to do with my spaces moving forward. But since I've got like spaces between the onions and the leeks, I'm going to fill those up with things I need. So with my magnolia sugar snap peas, these are so pretty. They've got really pretty wispy tendrils. I'm going to put one seed at the bottom of each of my metal things on the trellis. Some people like to soak or scarify pea seeds before they sow them, and beans too. Scarify is where you kind of just scratch up the outside and use like sandpaper or a nail file. You're not trying to like take a bunch of the seed off, but just scratch it. Soaking is the same idea. Both of those things are just to assist germination. I don't do it. I will water the soil well to make sure it's nice and moist, but when I'm sowing things into relatively warm soil, germination is not going to be an issue for those. If you are sowing into cool soil, let's say it wasn't going to be 70 degrees this week, it was going to be 40 degrees, and I wanted to go ahead and put them in the ground, then they may benefit some from soaking. It can speed germination, but I've just never done it consistently, done it occasionally. I tend to do better if I complete things whenever I'm thinking about them. So if I think I want to sow pea seeds and then I go put them in a cup of water, you know, they might not get sown. They might just get ruined. So, because I'll forget. But you can do it if you want. If you want, you know, to take the extra step and do the due diligence and do ideal, you can soak them or scarify them. So right here, I put some calendula seeds in. That is a flower that's very frost hardy. So, I mentioned I wouldn't drop the walls of this tunnel. Everything I'm planting in here can freeze. It's just it can't freeze super hard, and the tunnel, even open, will protect it to a certain degree. So if we were going to get down to like 20 Fahrenheit, -6 Celsius again, I would drop the walls because that's a good hard freeze. But there's a very good chance that won't happen again, and in which case, even if it is freezing, I won't close it up. Anyway, the calendula is a really good frost hardy flower. Excellent for medicinal purposes. It does really great for salves. It's good for your skin. I like it because it's very pretty, as well as medicinal purpose. So I've got the peas growing here. They're going to grow up this trellis. Got some calendula right here, and the leeks. All of these things will be finishing in like June, July. When I'm harvesting these leeks, the peas will go a little longer in the shade cloth high tunnel than they would outside. Peas start struggling when it's consistently like really 85-ish to 90 Fahrenheit, like 29 to 32 Celsius. That's gonna be too hot for them, but under the shade they'll have a little longer. Calendula, same. It starts struggling when it gets hot, and then the leeks will be all harvested. So the idea is I'm planting this bed with things that are generally gonna wrap up in the same time, so I can harvest it all, add some compost, and plant whatever is gonna be growing next in this bed. Over here, I kind of just miscalculated how far the onions would reach. So I've got a space here in the middle. Had I realized that they wouldn't fill up this space, I'd have just moved those down, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. We've got the red onions, the real big sweet ones, and then the more storage white onions. And I've got this space in the middle. I'm going to put some Ragged Jack kale seeds in here. These are going to go pretty fast, and again, they'll probably be wrapping up. They'll be pretty riddled with pests around the time that we're harvesting these onions, so I'll be able to reset the whole space. I always put the seeds I'm planting in a plastic tote that's sealed because I will inevitably water them unintentionally. The seed packets, I mean. We want to water the seeds once they're in the soil, not while they're in the packets. Alright guys, well, I gotta head back inside. My kids went in to make sandwiches, so I had a little bit of time, but we need to carry on with our school day. Goodness, it feels good to garden, and I love sharing it with you. Thank you for hanging out with us today. I bless you. Until next time.